I am a little unhappy with the Golden State Warriors.
And why is that?
That nice 17-point lead they had at halftime had me thinking, man, we're going to get to rest, and then it just kept whittling down, and then it's 1 o'clock in the morning, we still watching basketball.
We were lulled into a false sense of security, and I'm still jet lagged, man. I was in London for a week.
I watched the whole game. You said lulled into a false sense of security. Sound like somebody went to sleep.
I was weaving in and out of consciousness. I caught up, obviously.
How long
I did my film review.
How long you been back from London?
3.5 days. 7-hour difference, man. I was living the life over there, eating afternoon tea.
I saw your Instagram. You were
delightful.
Just hanging out in London. First name, James Harden. Last night he continued his crazy run. He dropped 44 points and a triple-double to lead Houston over Golden State in OT, including this right here. We got the game-winning situation.
This is crazy,
this is bananas.
Man. He is covered by Klay Thompson and Draymond.
And took great pleasure in hitting this on Draymond Green.
Yes, and then he stood over him, taunted him.
Didn't he muscle Draymond to the post a little bit earlier?
Oh, yeah. This was James Harden's night. Woo! And this is as hard a shot as you will see and as big a moment in the regular season, at least, as you will see.
And amazing James Harden's presence of mind in that moment to still try to draw a foul.
And it should have been.
Pablo, what was your reaction to the overall performance?
My reaction was Mike D'Antoni's after the game when he was informed/reveled in the fact that James Harden attempted 23 threes. Hysterical laughter. James Harden is this character that is going to force feed his opponent unassisted step-back threes until they die. And it works. They've now won 10 of 11. He's had 40 points 5 games in a row. Only Jordan and Iverson and Kobe have done that. As a regular season player, when Daryl Morey says James Harden is the greatest offensive player maybe I've seen, this helps the argument.
Yeah, if we were talking about LeBron James doing the one-man band stuff that James Harden is doing right now, we talk about it in far more breathless terms, right?
Yes.
Now, granted, LeBron can get to the free throw line without having to do all this pretending and shucking and driving that James Harden does, but this is no time to focus on the negative. He is that good, right? He is that dominant of an offensive player and a guy that can do just about everything if you have the ball in his hand.
Triple-double, by the way.
This is unsustainable, though, of course. This is the beginning of what we see at the end of the season of him being totally worn down because apparently Mike D'Antoni's offense has become, you got it, homie.
Yeah, it's an ISO offense. Do everything you want to do. Pass when you need to. Draw fouls when you need to, but mostly chuck threes. And I wonder, Steph Curry in this game, looking at this from the Warriors' perspective, I wonder if Steph sees James Harden and is jealous a little bit because what the Warriors have right now, Bo, is a lot of stuff mucking up what was once supposed to be the beautiful game, right?
No, they got to the end of that game, and you saw Steph Curry come down the floor, shooting them ISO, playing that ISO ball. Kevin Durant did it. Like, they had successive possessions with a chance to hold on to the game at the end, and what you saw was dudes just come across half court and put it up. This isn't built for guys to bang the ball a few times. This is why I don't think this idea that DeMarcus Cousins is going to come back and fix everything so he can bang the ball and do things that Steve Kerr also doesn't like.
Right, and they're staggering KD and they're staggering Steph, and every word I hear out of the beat reporters who are in this locker room is that the tension, KD, Draymond, KD, Steph, it is palpable to the people who are around them, and you wonder, does this actually make it such that the Houston Rockets can make the NBA Finals?
Well, let's see, because this Rockets team as it is not the one that at least they hope they will have because they will then have Chris Paul.
Eric Gordon, too.
Yeah, like this, and that's the embarrassing thing for the Warriors is that those two guys are out. This isn't about whether the Rockets can beat them. This is about whether the Warriors will ultimately wind up in a place where they beat themselves. What have I been saying about dynasties? It's fatigue that kills them. It's all the time that passes and everything else. Now, you think about this. You go look at that box score. It looked like 3 guys were allowed to shoot. It looked like Curry, Durant, and Thompson were allowed to shoot. Nobody else was.
Meanwhile, you know who has a green light for Houston? Austin Rivers.
Yes, he does.
It is his time. The next name, Nick Foles. Philly takes on the objectively incredible Bears defense Sunday evening. So, Bo, are you sure that big bleep Nick can't lead the Eagles on another absurd run?
Yo, I feel like we have a very large sample size of evidence to indicate, no, stop that. Nick Foles is not good, right? He's simply not a good quarterback. Except apparently at the end of the year in Philadelphia where he turns into an entirely different person. This stretch since he got the starting job back. He's 4th in the league in QBR, 1st in completion percentage, 1st in yards per attempt, 4th in touchdown passes, and a tie there. How long can they keep this going, and can he pull this feat off against a legitimately dominant defense? Because that's what the Bears have.
Yeah, no, the barge of Large Barge Sarge is getting larger, and it happens because their offense, just roll with me here, the offense, he's getting the ball out of his hand real quick, right? He's doing this in 2 to 3 seconds. He is doing this on short passes. They are pushing the ball down the field, and when it comes to yards per attempt, that's where this does get dicey because of the qualified quarterbacks. I believe there are 39 of them. He is dead last. These are short, quick passes, but he has an offensive line that's really good. They're back and healthy. The Jasons, right? Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters, they're protecting him, and that defense seems to be healing, so this doesn't seem like, you know, the same team as it was.
And I guess we air yards per attempt in terms of getting the ball out. The thing about him, though, and this is what is the big difference between he and Carson Wentz, no matter what the talent difference is, if worse comes to worse, Carson Wentz is looking for Zach Ertz. And the more Zach Ertz catches the ball, the less success as a team the Eagles typically have. If Nick Foles doesn't know what to do, he's throwing it to Alshon Jeffrey. That's a smarter play. And having him back and healthy, I think, has been a big thing for the Eagles, because there's one thing I think that we undersell the value of, which is the wide receiver who's always open. Like the Anquan Bolden types. I am always there. 3 guys hanging off me, it don't matter. I'm always open. You'd rather go to that guy in the pinch than go to the tight end on the check down.
But it is crazy. We asked one of our producers, Jasmine, diehard Eagles fan, would you rather have healthy Carson Wentz or healthy Nick Foles at this point in the year? She, like the rest of Philadelphia, is going with this guy. He has something that seems ineffable, that seems to reduce me to cliches. But
what is it? What is that it? Because it seems like you're talking about like stuff out of the air that you don't actually believe in.
I'm talking about a dude who showed me he could be the MVP of a Super Bowl and catch passes and do all sorts of things I did not think Nick Foles as a specimen could ever do. And guess what? He's beaten the Rams. He's beaten the Texans. He beat the Washington football team. He is the leader of a team that is alive and resurgent.
Did you just give him credit for beating Washington?
I gave
Josh Johnson is the quarterback for them, and he hadn't thrown a pass before this year since 2011.
Nick Foles is not who we thought he was. That is my argument.
That's the thing. He is who we thought he was. He just somehow manages to perform better than that in stretches. How long is that going to go? That's like you and that Ryan Fitzpatrick thing. Remember that? Name Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson. Ravens takes on the Chargers Sunday in a rematch from Week 16 with Baltimore 1 in L.A. Pablo, how likely is Jackson to lead them to another win?
So this is an extremely strange offense to predict because no one has run their quarterback as much as these Ravens have with Lamar Jackson. Since the merger, no one is doing this. I saw Ryan Russillo tweet this. If you were to take the number of carries that this man has taken over a full year, he's right behind Zeke Elliott. It's strange. I am personally confident in that defense that they have. The Eric Weddle-led zone blitz kind of scheme that they've simplified and disguised really well. And I'm confident that Lamar Jackson isn't a fluke, but it is strange and is something that we haven't really seen, so it's hard to predict.
Well, I see. The thing for me about this is, yes, the Ravens are running an offense that's unlike anything that anyone has run in the NFL in who knows how long. Even with Tebow Mania, where the Broncos were like, yo, we can't let this dude throw the ball. They didn't put him directly in the run game in the way that the Ravens have done. The thing is, it's totally different, and now a team is going to get to see it for the second time in 3 weeks. And so I wonder strategically, now that they've had their own film to go against this, whether we're going to see something different from the Ravens offense just because they'll be going against a more prepared opponent. The other thing is, the Chargers are a better team, right? Like top to bottom, the Chargers are a better team than the Ravens are, no matter where this game happens to be played. I think the Chargers are going to win it, but I'll be curious to see what the Ravens come up with is their counterpunch. Now they're dealing with somebody seeing this offense for the second time.
So I agree that the Chargers are a better team in total, but recently the Chargers have been scuffling offensively. Phillip Rivers, against the Ravens, by the way, had his worst game. No touchdowns, less than 200 yards, 4 sacks, 2 picks. Phillip Rivers has had 6 touchdowns against 6 interceptions in his last 5 games. The Ravens have played all of these games super close. In the fourth quarter, it is down to a possession. And then, as we know in the NFL, things oblong around and who knows. I just think that the Ravens should not be underestimated because of that Wink Martindale defense plus the time of possession stuff.
No. The defense is great. I think they're third in DVOA according to Football Outsiders. Like, there's no question about how good the defense is. But we are taking a potential Hall of Fame quarterback on one side.
That's right.
His recent stretch notwithstanding has been very good this year. On the other side, a dude in his first playoff game. You're asking a lot of everybody on the Baltimore side if you're picking in that direction. Coming up next, do you know how crazy Charles Haley is? Trust me, you'll want to know.
Find out.
Download the High Noon podcast, Bomani's too, and mine. Not Pablo's, though, because he doesn't have one. Coming at you from the Seaport District at Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. I love New York.
I'm just saying, if the Rockets are going to go super ISO like this, I feel like there's a guy that will work really well in the offense who could use the job.
Carmelo Anthony is posting and deleting tweets as we speak. He's watching Austin Rivers.
Right.
Man.
Like, you telling me I can't do that? And the answer is, yeah.
Glazed donut face bleeps is what he's thinking. First quote. You have to be crazy to play this game. I don't show it all the time, but deep down inside, I'll slap the bleep out of all y'all. Said Dallas defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence when asked about 49ers and Cowboys legend Charles Haley attending practice. Let's listen to him.
You know, his crazy mindset, but yeah, it's funny, but then again, it's real. Like, you have to be crazy to play this game. Like, I don't show it all the time, but deep down inside, like, I slap like, for real. But that's just me as a person, you know, but I just know how to control it.
Oh, that's just him as a person.
As a person, right. Do you agree?
I mean, okay, I don't know if you necessarily have to be crazy to play football, but playing football is crazy. Therefore, it's conducive to having crazy people. So there will always be one crazy person in a football locker room that is at the top of the list, and everybody names the craziest person on that team. And whatever team that dude was on, Charles Haley was that crazy person. Like,
yes, a Hall of Famer, right? Yeah. An outside linebacker, defensive end. Unparalleled in his time, you might argue.
Well, hold on. These two levels of Hall of Fame. Like the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
That's right.
And the Pro Crazy Hall of Fame. Like, please remember this when you watch this video. Michael Irvin once stabbed an offensive lineman in the chest with some scissors over a haircut. And this is what he says about Charles Haley.
Psycho problem. He's crazy. Charles is crazy for real.
For real?
You know? He'll walk up to you and kind of punch you. He'll grab you in your private area, you know, and just kind of pull you around.
Yeah, like that's
ballot.
Yeah, that's first ballot. Dude, before Latrell Sprewell made it cool, Charles Haley choked George Seifert when George Seifert was the head coach of the 49ers and kept his job.
He once urinated on the floor of Carmen Policy's offense, Carmen Policy being the team president.
Yes, and this is before they sent him out in San Francisco. He got into a physical altercation with Steve Young, which is another level of crazy to think that you can get away with this. And then the stories from Dallas, I'm not sure how many of them that we can tell on the air here.
Many of them we cannot.
His behavior in meetings is unbecoming. That's what we got. It's really unbecoming.
He took his helmet and threw it at Jerry Jones, missed by 2 feet. There's a video with a crater.
And then Jerry Jones signed him as Smith, which means Charles Haley should have been named the general manager. Quote, traitor, traitor, traitor. Chanting Spurs fans like Kawhi Leonard in his return. Let's listen.
Forbes, and we'll go to the line to shoot a couple.
I mean, you got to appreciate there's some Cameron Crazies dynamic going on.
Do those look like Cameron Crazies? Because the Cameron Crazies look like they believe what they say. They be into it. What about that is Cameron crazy?
I think there is a real level of distaste for Kawhi Leonard. They were chanting Uncle Dennis over and over again. They were cheering for Danny Green and booing Kawhi Leonard. Well, this was Game 7 of their NBA Finals in San Antonio.
They sounded like a bunch of herbs who felt like this is what they had to do, but I don't know if anybody's really that mad. However, that's in that situation. What we forgot about this game and what became clear in the beginning is, yeah, Kawhi Leonard coming back to San Antonio. He didn't care about that nearly as much as DeMar DeRozan cared about playing against Toronto. Like, DeMar DeRozan has described this as basically being jilted at the altar. He thought he was going to marry the Raptors. He had a triple-double, and he was on fire.
He had 21, 14, and 11, cocking the ball all the way back and yamming in. And it's more than just being, jilted at the altar. His real true wife is still there.
Oh, you're talking about Kyle Lowry?
Kyle Lowry, man. Kyle Lowry and DeMar were catching up during the game, and Kawhi would saunter over, and they'd stop talking. It was weird.
Well, here's the thing. DeRozan is the guy that the Raptors have said that they've wanted to think they've had the hardest time finding, a great American-born player who wanted to stay there. He wanted to be there forever. And they're like, so we're going to hope Kawhi Leonard stays.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's the thing. They didn't just trade him. It's not just they traded him. They traded him for a dude who might be gone next year.
The Raptors better give Uncle Dennis everything Uncle Dennis wants. Last quote. I was trying to challenge him, just trying to get the best out of him. Said Penn State coach Patrick Chambers after video emerged that showed him shoving freshman guard Miles Dredd in the chest during a loss last night to number 2 Michigan. Let's watch that.
And then Pat Chambers lit into him. I mean,
why are you laughing?
Wow.
I'll be a 30 for 30 on that.
Look at the faces in this circle of people.
Yeah, like
Not enjoying this, awkwardly clapping through it.
And look, let me tell you what I see too. A bunch of dudes who already stopped listening to that cat.
But after the game, said cat recanted. He apologized. Let's listen to Patrick Chambers.
I absolutely love Miles Dredd. He committed to us as a sophomore. So I've known him forever, him and his parents. Absolutely love him. I apologize to him. I was trying to challenge him, just trying to get the best out of him. And hopefully, I'll do it a different way next time.
Hopefully.
No, not hopefully. I will do it a different way next time. But he's a great kid.
His tone, man. Like, I feel like there was a greater gravity to what happened there than he seemed to take it in with. I think he should have come out there with, hey, I was wrong for that. I lost my composure. I cannot behave as such. I apologize to him, family, everybody, all of that stuff. Instead, he was just kind of like, yeah, he's got a little charged up.
No, but you saw him wearing the glasses of gravity. That's how you know he's serious. He showed up with his readers on postgame, but he was guilty, Bo, of everything he wanted to stamp out in that young man's style. He put himself ahead of the team, having to apologize, which is embarrassing. Could not control himself. Wasn't disciplined. This doesn't work as motivation. Why don't people realize
I can say,
that?
look at the rest of those dudes around. They look like they've been checked out in this situation. Coming up next, who you got this weekend? Deshaun Watson or Andrew Luck? The league existed now.
I don't think he could exist.
But no,
now.
the thing is, there's not a Charles Haley, but there's a Charles Haley facsimile in every locker room. You just don't know who it is.
I just like how the Giants talk about being a true Giant and the Cowboys are like, check out how crazy our alumni are. Today's number, 1.5. That's how many points the Texans are favored by over the Colts tomorrow afternoon. So who you got?
All right, now let us start by saying that this game is being played in Houston. This game would be played in Indianapolis, except, Frank Wright. Remember that?
Yeah, week 4, tie game, overtime. He wants to go for it, and then he explains himself as such afterwards.
Yeah,
on
in his own territory, by the way.
That's right.
I'll just address it now. I mean, we're not playing to tie. I mean, we're going for that 10 times out of 10. I mean, that's just the way it's got to roll.
Now, you could ask, did that set a mentality for the team, that sort of thing? Maybe that's what wound up coming down for them. But in reality, they are now playing this game on the road.
Yes, and Vegas historically gives home field advantage like a 2 to 3 point swing. And once again, today's number is 1.5. So if you are Frank Reich, yeah, I think you'd appreciate having Andrew Luck do this back in Indy.
I think the Colts are still going to win it, though, right? Now, one thing, historically, if you want to say the Texans have a history, they've been around long enough, I think we can say that the Colts have long been their tormentors throughout this time. And if you think these teams are about even and there's an argument to be made for that, Andrew Luck on one side, Deshaun Watson on the other. Deshaun Watson has pleasantly surprised me in the NFL. But Andrew Luck has been kind of unreal through the last stretch of the year.
Unreal because, once again, the guy was throwing like tiny Nerf vortex footballs. He couldn't hold a real football, and now they've won 9 of 10, and they have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. And yes, Deshaun Watson's great, but this dude's story is crazy.
By the way, Andrew Luck, homecoming game in Houston. You just don't realize he's from Houston because he is the least Houston-seeming person that's ever been from Houston.
Civil
that
War
includes me. In closing, here's a reminder for college basketball ref Carl Hess. Some advice my larger brother gave me in my youth. This weight class is for a reason. Now you see this is Carl Hess. He's got some kind of beef with the coach of Samford. Now, what you can't tell from there is that the coach of Samford is Scott Padgett. Scott Padgett appears to be a large man because he is a large man. Carl Hess does not appear to be a large man because he is not.
Only in his mind is Carl Hess a large man.
And here is Scott Padgett explaining that axiom I just gave you.
I literally said, are you stepping to me right now? I mean, that's what I said. I mean, a guy like that stepping to me is not realistic. If we're out on the street, he's running the other way just if he sees me walking by. I'm 6'9", probably 280 right now. Not a lot of people step to me.
Weight class for a reason, baby. He's right about that. Carl Hess wouldn't be bringing that drama to him otherwise.
He's right about that. Moomba is right about that. But Scott Padgett is trying to Don Zimmer Carl Hess. That's what he wants to do.
Let me explain to you. If he were to do that, Scott Padgett would become the most popular man in college basketball instantaneously. As I've said before, I used to be on a listserv for dudes talking about college basketball, and I asked how long had Carl Hess been an official, and this dude said, and I quote, "I remember my grandmother telling Carl Hess to go to hell, and she's been dead since 1996. Like, he brings it out. There ain't that many college basketball refs whose name we know, and it's never for a good reason.
Wasn't he booted out of the ACC, essentially?
Yeah, he went too far. He went too far. Kicked Chris Corchiani out of the building. Remember that?
That's right. In closing, I have an update from Law & Order Chicago Bulls, because the team traded Justin Holiday to Memphis yesterday for some stuff. Marshawn Brooks, Wayne Selden, 2 second-rounders, all of which means that one player had to be dropped from Jim Boylan's Bulls, and as you can tell, that player is very, very sad to leave this TV show behind.
Yo!
Campaign with the hands to the sky emoji.
This
and
is
he
what he
deleted that.
did when he got fired.
He wanted to be fired.
And he's not guaranteed to get another job, by the way.
Because he's Cameron Payne. And Cameron Payne, all we really know about him is that he loves dancing. And all I really know about Jim Boylan is that he's the type of guy to hate dancing.
Well, we also know Cameron Payne's not good at basketball. This is in the middle of a game 2 years ago. The game is going on. That's Pau Gasol in the corner, right? Or is that another number 16? I know it's Andrew Luck down low.
But Cameron Payne is doing the thing that he loved to do with Russell Westbrook. You know, all the elaborate DAP routines. But the sad part is that this was a trade with Memphis. Cameron Payne's from Memphis. He just was glad to get out of the Bulls.
Yeah, but look at this. These are a bunch of guys that are like, how come you couldn't trade me? I wouldn't want to be there. Highly Questionable's coming up next.